Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Paul Buffington. I'm a solution strategist, solution consultant with Atlassian, and I'm excited to be your tour guide for today in this conversation that we're going to be meeting with Brian Taylor from Wex and Tony Mottes from StrataCom in the journey that Wex has taken in adopting Jira Service Management. Now, before we get started here, I'd like to walk you through the agenda so you kind of have an idea of what's going to unfold over the next 30 minutes of this conversation, as well as just kind of give you some of the housekeeping to allow you to make the most out of this and get to the resources we've shared. Before we jump into the panel conversation, some of you joining today may be the first time you're looking at Atlassian, or you might have some of the teams in your organization using Atlassian products like Jira. I want to talk about and put some context around this of what is Atlassian's cloud offering, which we reference and call the Atlassian system of work and how it brings teams together. And as we're focused in on Jira Service Management, how does it fit into that context? Very briefly, just kind of level set there. And then we'll get right into our webinar panel and have you an opportunity to meet the team. And then we're going to dive into some really great areas of what was Wex's journey to adopt Jira Service Management. What did they learn? What are the challenges? And where are they going from here? So without further ado, let's get into the housekeeping. We want you to interact with us. This is the live webinars. We're going through this today. We're here. We've got team available that are watching the chat as we go through, and we'll be taking questions in the Q&A at the end. We would love to hear with you. So please submit your questions in the Q&A widget. We'll be getting to those at the end when we go through this, but we'll watch for those as we go along as well. We've also brought some resources we believe will be really helpful for you as you're understanding what Atlassian offers with Jira Service Management and how it might help your team. And so take a look at these great resources. You can download and get access to those. And then some of you may want to share this recording or come back to it at a later point. We will be sharing this webinar recording as a link as a follow-up just a few days after the event. Now, sometimes with connections and browsers, I might be saying something, but things don't match. And if you see that happening, there's any lagging on your side, just refresh your browser. Usually that's a great way to just cause it to reset. This is a webcast only. There is no dial-in. So if you're having audio issues, you're tuning in for the first time, you're not hearing the audio, just check, make sure that your audio connection through your computer is set up or your headphones are there. So let's get into the overview and introduction to Atlassian System of Work. So Atlassian System Work is drawing on our experiences that we've worked on with teams over the years, well over 250,000 customers using our products, where we've worked with them and the principles that they've deployed in their approach of how teams work. At the heart of Atlassian's mission is the unleashed potential of every team. And it's something we're very passionate about and the way we work and the capabilities and products we bring to our customers. And so Atlassian System of Work is focused around that with our cloud offering. At the foundation of this, we know that effective teamwork is aligning those work goals, especially in service teams of things that are coming in that are planned and unplanned. How do I plan and track that work and collaborate while I'm being able to respond and ship things out that are important to the business? And then in the midst of all of this, because we all sit in the position of being a knowledge worker, this knowledge in doing our day-to-day job is really critical. How do we unleash that knowledge? And that's where Atlassian's platform comes in around Atlassian System of Work. The variety of our products in our cloud platform are woven together to create this type of experience. Now, we will be focused in on Jira Service Management today, but I highly recommend if you have other teams working in our products, looking at and understanding how this fits together. Underpinning all of this is the team foundations, where Confluence and Jira, the analytics, the AI, the automation, we're going to talk about some of that in today's conversation, are really, really critical for a team to be able, especially in the service management space, to move at a higher velocity in the way they deliver service and support. Now, Atlassian, when we embarked on this mission 10 years ago, especially as we've pivoted into the enterprise space to help our customers, we've been looking at how we bring IT and dev on the same page and closer together the way they work. This is really important to us because so many of the development teams already work in Jira today. We wanted to provide something that is allowing them to collaborate and solve, whether it's planning for work and shipping new products and services, or the modern operations where there's an outage or tracking our change work. And then if we pivot to the other side of this, where we want to service not only with the employee support, we know that there's service delivery across an organization that's really important. We want to bring that more modern support offering that brings team autonomy with alignment, that we can support our employees, but we want to pivot out and go into other teams such as HR and finance and business and marketing teams. These are the stories that we keep hearing from our customers as they're standardizing on this platform. And doing all of this and delivering the value fast. So being able to adapt if the business challenges change overnight and we're able to pivot with those business challenges. These are just some of the core principles behind this. Now, what are the 3 reasons that we're hearing that kind of led us to part of this conversation today? Why are companies switching to Jira Service Management? One is back to that deliver value fast. Lowering our overall service management cost. This is where we balance this out and bringing the right offering that meets teams' needs, and also being very transparent about our pricing and licensing without having to overpay for features that I may or may not use. We believe it's best to start and build around the organization, the way that you work. The other part of this, I think, is so critical today in remote teams, the way that we work across functional teams, even organization. Speed of collaboration is a critical aspect of it, whether we're in chat or we're on a page or in a ticket. We need to accelerate this on the business side, but also especially within development operations when there is an outage going on. And so this is where this system of work is a unified platform, thinking about how can I make it easier for my teams to collaborate. And then on the other side of this, we're hearing, especially as we've launched our AI offering and our modern approach to service management, we're finding that this accelerates many of the things that teams are doing in the way that they work, this higher velocity. This could be very well just a modern approach in ITIL that's more agile and lean that ITIL 4 advocates for, or just taking away the automated upgrades that no longer, because we are a cloud microservices platform, you're able to take in new features without having to stop and wait to upgrade to the next edition and version. This is significant value that customers are finding they're able to deliver back to the business. And now with AI being so valuable and strategic to our strategy at org, how can we take AI capabilities and bring it around the way that teams work and unlock things that save them time and deliver faster support and response? So with that, we'll talk a lot about these areas that we heard from the Wex team as they've moved over to Jira Service Management. And with that, I'd like to I'll ask Brian and Tony to come on screen with me here, and we'll go through some introductions.
Hi, my name is Brian Taylor, and I work within the Employee Technology Services area at Wex, which allows me to work on cool technology like AI, support tools and solutions, and of course, why we're here today, Jira Service Management.
Great, thanks, Brian, and thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. What's kind of a fun fact about Wex or your role, or maybe even outside of work, some things to kind of share with the audience today?
Yeah, well, if you're not familiar with Wex, we are a B2B fintech company whose purpose is to simplify the business of running a business. We manage payment processing for customers across employee benefits, corporate payments, and fleet mobility. I guess about me, my wife and I have 3 children who stay pretty busy. Outside of family, I ran my first half marathon in October of last year, and I'm training for a marathon right now.
Oh, fantastic. Very good. Keep up with three young ones that way. So great. Tony, please, I'd love to have you introduce yourself to the audience today and learn more about you and StrataCom.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, my name is Tony Mottes. I'm a senior ITSM consultant for StrataCom. We specializing in Jira Service Management. StrataCom is based in Fargo, North Dakota, and is a platinum Atlassian partner. We've been focused on enterprise ITSM implementations since 1997. Little fun fact about me, I actually recently finished a rebuild of my 1890s home here in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was just me and my parents. We did all the design, all the labor, and everything. So.
Oh, cool. I would love to see some photos. It sounds like a fun project.
It was.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Very good. Well, I fully introduced myself because I jumped right into the webinar, but Paul Buffington, I'm a solution consultant in Atlassian, working on our pre-sales teams, working with customers across the enterprise space in their solution journey. My background is almost 15 years of service management consulting, a lot like Tony and that. And I joined Atlassian almost 9 years I think it's next week. And it's been an amazing journey here to watch this journey, not only of the way that we work with our customers, the solutions and products that we bring. So when I heard about this, I've been following the Wex team and their journey here. I was excited when this came out, and I said I would love to be a part of the conversation and share this with you all. So please, again, drop your questions in the chat. I've already seen a couple of those come in, and I'm looking forward to getting to some of your questions. So let's get started here and kind of talk through this. And this first one I'm going to ask Brian about. Prior to your journey to Jira Service Management, we'll get to that in the details of it. Can you just kind of give us some backgrounds of the way your teams are working, really your IT service management solution needs, and kind of some of the history behind this and where we're coming from?
Yeah, we previously used Sharewell as our ITSM solution. And in mid-2023, we partnered with StrataCom to successfully migrate to Jira Service Management. Went live in January of this year. Our Jira Service Management implementation aligns with ITIL best practices covering incident management, problem management, service request fulfillment, and change management. And we also implemented service management for our human resources and facilities department as well.
Okay, great thanks for the background on that. That's really helpful. So let's kind of get to the challenges. It probably left you a place to start looking around, and especially you're in a digital delivery of capabilities out to your customers in what the products and services. What challenges were leading you to kind of this decision to explore a new solution?
Yeah, our previous ITSM solution was holding us back in several key areas. One, I would say siloed collaboration. So crucial communication and teamwork really was happening outside of the tool. And that was leading to delays, miscommunication, and inefficiency. We also had a very limited mobility capability. So the lack of a native mobile capability was a major pain point for us. And our teams couldn't easily access tickets or take action on the go. A third area I would say is just kind of the lack of transparency or hidden workflows. So just opaque workflows, teams, approval groups really created confusion and bottlenecks. And so this lack of transparency really hampered our accountability and problem resolution. And then finally, I would say it was just a frustrating user experience. So our end users found the system clunky, difficult to use, and this really led to low adoption rates and negatively impacted their overall experience.
Very good. Thanks for the walk through that. And I think we'll dig into some of these, dive deeper into some of these topics, because I think it's an important area of where you've been able to move the needle in delivery of service in the org. Tony, I want to jump over to you for a moment here on this, because I think it's a good connection to it. In your experience with these challenges like you're seeing with Wex, what are some of the common things that with customers they're using more traditional legacy approach to service management that's more siloed and modular versus I think Atlassian takes more of a team-based flow of work approach and collaborative. What are things that you're seeing just overall in general?
Yeah, I mean, sluggish development, siloed collaboration, limited mobility, all hallmarks of legacy tools, right? Almost all of StrataCom's clients, and particularly those using Sharewell, use some form of agile development to support their ITSM solution. But Sharewell wasn't really designed with that in mind. For instance, while some changes can be accomplished using data, and immediately updated, the vast majority required some sort of release process that tied admins to rigid release schedules that left gaps in functionality, while waiting for changes that presented very little risk to the process. Another part of that is the multiple developers working in the same system. You want to be as efficient as possible, get stuff going. And with those legacy tools, it was very easy to step on each other's toes, if not just take the whole system down, right? And that's not what we want to do. So JSM allows for a lot of quick changes by multiple admins without that risk. We still communicate about what we're doing, but we don't have to have that strict regiment that we had before. Like Brian said, the siloed communication is a huge part of it, and Jira obviously excels at that with mentions and chat and all the various things that allow us to communicate with each other. I mean, if you're not in the tool every day, all the time, you're going to miss something. I mean, we get emails sent out, but we get a lot of emails every day, and we train ourselves to ignore them, and one of them might actually be important. And so that's certainly a shift. Since JSM and Jira software utilize the same platform, we're definitely easier to collaborate between the dev and the support for sure. We don't have to assign the tickets to a team, goes to a queue, somebody has to look at it, determine that, oh, it was misrouted and now we're going there. We can actually mention somebody, hey, is this within your purview? Yes. Okay. Can you help us out here? So a lot questions can be answered in near real time. The mobility is another great feature and is consistent with the tool. Sharewell in particular had a deficiency in that, and so many of our clients actually needed that StrataCom developed its own workaround and its own mobile client for Sharewell, and now that's obviously integrated with JSM without having to create a third party. And then, of course, the Atlassian intelligence, as you mentioned, the AI is integrated throughout JSM with a multitude of time-saving features. So that definitely helps out in that realm too. Sharewell didn't really have a clear concept of workflows. And so oftentimes the data was hidden or behind admin permissions. And even if it was exposed, it wasn't really in a user-friendly fashion that somebody could look at and understand what was going on. With JSM workflows and assets, we're able to actually see that information directly on the request. So there's no question about what's coming up next or who's on what team and things like that. So let's see. Legacy tools obviously have outdated interfaces as well. And JSM has a modern, clean, responsive that allows people to see the updates as they're occurring in real time in the ticket. And one of the biggest complaints that I heard about Sharewell was the lack of parity between the rich client and the web client. And obviously that's not a problem with JSM at all. So, and then of course, last but not least is upgrades, major liability of legacy tools. They can be time consuming, require specialized resources, and even end up breaking functionality that you weren't really aware of without proper regression testing, which of course is a lot of time and money. So JSM is constantly evolving, but the tool continues to function as it's configured. Most of the new functionality that has been introduced in the time that I've been working with it has been easily incorporated at the client's timeline.
Right. That's a great walkthrough, Tony. I appreciate that. I think something you said to me just goes back to a couple conversations the last couple of weeks is that the challenges in this modern age of adaptability and that I need to adjust my service management support and do it quickly. I mean, being built on the power of the Jira platform, because the Jira workflows is what teams have kind of gravitated to it, and that we can build around the flow of work in the organization. I think what you've said, I've heard a lot, and I think we'll get to some of that in the follow-up conversation. I think one of the thing, organization agility and being able to come back and adapt or adapt the solution, I think is another thing. So great insights. I want to come back to something in a few minutes here, but I want to come back over to Brian for a second, because I'm really kind of curious if we've talked about this and you had those requirements in front of you and you're going on this journey and you're starting to look at what Atlassian offers. Obviously, your software teams were using, you had some of the products in Wex. What stood out to you initially as you were starting to look at Jira Service Management and searching for a new solution?
It was a number of things, but if I were to boil it down to just three, I'd say it was a familiar and intuitive interface, number one. So we did have existing experience with Jira products, so we knew moving to JSM would offer a vastly improved user experience compared to our legacy system. And so that familiarity promised to boost adoption and minimize training needs. Secondly, I would say seamless collaboration. So the potential to bring development and support teams onto a single collaborative platform, that was hugely appealing. And we foresaw reduced friction, faster communication, and a more streamlined issue resolution process, especially with the mobile capabilities. And then finally, I'd say unmatched value. So when we evaluated cost versus capabilities, Jira Service Management simply blew the competition away. It offered the powerful features, flexibility, scalability that we needed at a very competitive price point. So ultimately, JSM ticked all the boxes for us. It wasn't just about individual features, it was the whole package. And that aligned perfectly with our goal to deliver faster, user-friendly, and more collaborative enterprise services.
Yeah, it's interesting that as you go through, I keep thinking about how support is evolving and adapting ways of working that are more, responsive to the business. And I know we've got some things we'll get into, and that's really helpful to kind of walk through it. Now I think about your engagement with StrataCom and coming in and working with them. And I want to come back to Tony for a moment here and kind of talk about, when the Wex, customers like the Wex team reach out for your guidance, what priorities or capabilities do you suggest? I mean, when you think about organization, the way they're working today, using the current technology solution, how are you guiding them and taking them through this process?
Yeah, we suggest that clients look for modern, intuitive tools, like Brian said, that are easy for end users to adopt and provide all the features like the chat and the AI and the mobiles that are the hallmark of today's tech world, right? We say that you should find a vendor that has large established customer base and is well ranked by industry analysts such as Forrester or Gartner. There's safety in numbers. You don't want to choose a new solution only to have it sold or discontinued a year later because the vendor can't gain enough market share to succeed, no matter how great the product is, right? We also had to consider the advantages of bringing your IT department onto a single platform. Tens of thousands of customers across the world already use Jira software, and leveraging JSM on the same platform provides a lot of efficiency and collaboration opportunities. And of course, to be sure to consider the total cost of ownership and the return on that investment. All ITSM vendors have different pricing schemes, and some will be significantly more expensive year over year. We like JSM because of the low total cost and all the great functionality included in the base price: Ops Genie, Discovery, Asset Management, and so on.
Those are, I think, really great points, especially around the cost of ownership in today's age, but also being able to deliver the value back and adapt to the organization. So great point. And I've again, the Wex story, I've just loved working with you, Brian, and the team as we've gone through this. And, you're a member of 50,000 plus customers that are currently using the product. Fantastic points. I want to I was thinking back what Brian was talking about in these key areas, and they've come to you with, these are our requirements. We're looking at Jira Service Management. Can you share about the approach that you took with the Wex team to make the transition from Sherwell? Because there's obviously a way of working that's established there, but also bringing the new technology and capability that Jira Service Management unlocks. Walk us through that. Give us an idea. What's the journey like for the team? And then I want to come back to Brian on what did you realize on the other side?
Okay. Yeah, when implementing a new tool, regardless of what it is or who the client is, what industry they're in, it always makes sense to work with the strengths of the tool. So lifting and shifting from a legacy system is full of all sorts of hidden risk. So not only do you weaken the strengths of a new tool if you lift and shift, but you also drag along technical workarounds, outdated functionality that don't need to be part of your new implementation. I'd already been working with Wex on their Sharewell system, so I had a good foundation in how they operate, as well as some of their pain points of their ITSM operations. Combining my knowledge of the Wex processes, ITSM best practices, and the JSM functionality, we were able to deliver a system that met their requirements or exceeded their requirements. But today's needs are only one part of the equation, so always building a system that's primed for future functionality is also important to keep in mind. So to guide our development process, we established a couple standards that we could turn to when design questions arose. First would be the 80-20 rule, which dictates that technology solutions should be built based on the 80% or the bulk of what is happening. Now, that's not necessarily to say 80% of the catalog items, but 80% of the actual work that's being done, so that you're taking advantage of that, while considering the remaining 20% separately. Some of it could be important. Are there quick wins in that 20% that would have, or is the return on investment just not there? Keeping in mind that sometimes a single solution can be slightly generalized to solve multiple problems. And of course, one exception to the 80-20 rule is audit or regulatory requirements, which of course must be met. So the second standard we used was a priority of experience. So we said that the portal customers or the employees is going to be our first priority. We want their experience to be the very best, followed by our agents, and then the admins would pick up the slack. So once we had our requirements and our guidelines established, we moved on to the configuration. Consistent with an agile and an iterative approach, whenever possible, we started with a minimal viable product. This allowed those who would be using the tool to see and provide feedback in the context of the new tool. And of course, that feedback was used during subsequent development cycles. Any highly specialized processes that were developed for Cherwell because of limitations or that sort of thing, they were quickly and easily implemented in JSM using workflows and automations. The workflows provide a consistent experience for the customers and the agents alike, with straightforward transparency of the whole life cycle of the request. Cherwell's approval engine is rather restrictive, and many clients just bypassed it altogether in favor of their own custom approval process. JSM's approvals, they were easily far and above what Cherwell offers, and very little configuration to get the same functionality moved over. In Wex's particular case, due to limitations in Cherwell, they had been forced to create a large number of related catalog items, somewhere in the ballpark of around 1,500. These items that belong together from a customer perspective had to be separated to accommodate proper routing, approvals, SLAs, all the processes behind to get these requests completed. With JSM, we were able to consolidate those 1,500 into about, under 700, making it a lot easier for customers to find what they needed to create the requests. And additionally, we were able to consolidate the majority of the incident requests into a single request type, so that I'm having a problem with something, I go right to this one place, I pick the tool that I'm having a problem with, and we still get the proper routing and SLAs and everything behind that. Automated rules and webhooks were used to create two-way integrations with external systems, allowing for request creations and updates between the two systems, as well as access provisioning. Similarly, we used automations in Atlassian's APIs to handle mundane admin functions, freeing up the admins to perform more complicated tasks or doing development work that is requested. So in our journey, it basically was, we started with HR, as it was completely separate from IT. By starting with a smaller scope, Wex and I were able to experience how JSM fit with their process, allowing for smoother development during the more extensive and complex IT side of the project. Change and problem management were developed in parallel with IT. And while we were building out the request types and the forms throughout all of these, multiple developers could work in parallel without stepping on each other's toes. So that helped increase our efficiency and get those 1,500 to the 7, and then to actually have it implemented. We did go live with HR prior to IT, and it was quite easy to have HR live while we still were developing and had granted access to testers in the IT side. So definitely a very easy split, so no problems there. When we went live, we opened up a chat, which allowed any Wex employee to ask questions or report issues. We were able to resolve issues immediately and prevent most work stoppages using this. Attempting to do this with a legacy system just wouldn't have worked out very well. The rigorous release schedule and things like that just wouldn't allow. And so I think that this strategy actually resulted in JSM having a far better first impression for Wex employees than they ever had with Sharewell. And of course, JSM's modern interface didn't hurt either. So, and then lastly, we created a historical data project that provided a space to port over data from the legacy system. Aside from a few key fields, all the data was transferred into a rich text field, which allowed for very simple searches, and permissions prevented editing and allowed access for everybody.
Tony, thanks for the detailed walkthrough. Oftentimes, customers are wonder about what's behind the scenes in that journey, and I appreciate Brian and team also opening this up and being able to share it, because I think the thing that stands out, and I've seen this a lot of this agile way we can approach to understand ways of working, requirements, workflow, adaptable workflow. And I love that, in fact, you found the right team to get out as the pilot to kind of be that, they're going to go ahead to be able to start to show the organization what's there, and then started to follow on with the core IT part of it. I think is fantastic. And I remember you said automations, being able to start automating some of these manual tickets and requests. And I remember Brian said that's been a pretty significant value delivery back of just saving time into the org. So thanks for the walkthrough of that. Brian, I want to come over to that one. I might come back to the automations one in a second, but that was a great overview of this journey in that detail. What benefits, as you look back right now and some of the things you're looking at in the data that you've been going through, what benefits have you experienced since Jira Service Management has gone live in the organization?
Well, since implementing Jira Service Management, we've seen improvements in many areas. I'll just highlight 4 here. So one is a dramatically enhanced user experience. So we surveyed our customers and agents before and after our JSM implementation. And so the ratings for navigation, ease of use, and ticket insights really increased significantly. So what was once a major pain point for us, with a majority of respondents rating these areas as a 1 or a 2, it's now a strength. So with the majority rating a 4 or a 5. So we really were able to invert the scale with the implementation of JSM. The second area I'd highlight is just a streamlined service delivery. So we're now automating over 1,000 access requests per month. So that's about a 25% automation rate. So this frees up our teams to focus on higher value tasks. The third area was faster resolution time. So we've seen our service request mean time to resolution drop significantly by 20%. Incident mean time to resolution has decreased by 16%. So we're consistently meeting or exceeding our SLAs. Escalated tickets plummeted by 60%. Due to better ticket visibility and communication. So we're now resolving issues really at the source, not just putting out fires. And then finally, it was a revitalized knowledge base. So our previous knowledge base in Google Docs languished, and with JSM's Confluence integration, it really has spurred a knowledge sharing culture. So updates are now happening multiple times per day.
Those are fantastic highlights. Several of these really stand out. The value that probably your leadership is definitely seeing about the experience overall, that you're able to go to a 4 to 5 at 50%, and that customer experience, the CX, is pretty significant. And I imagine that's because if an organization sees where it's difficult to get support, they're going to hear about it. So that's significant value. And I love hearing always when knowledge has been kind of an afterthought and struggle to get in. Because it's one thing we've really thought about, ways of working. How can knowledge become knowledge centric? And that's one of our pillars, as you see around system of work, but also especially within Jira Service Management, that teams like sharing and writing about it. One of the things we just announced this last week, I know I ran to you at our team event, where Loom is out there now, and we'll be able to record a Loom and break that out into a page. So these FAQs and these, how to write something or create something very quickly. So I'm really interested to follow your journey on that. So thanks for sharing the insights. That's a great, right out of the gate. I mean, it's phenomenal value your team has been able to deliver back in the StrataCom team with you. As I look at this, I mean, it's now you can kind of kick back and take it easy in that, but I know you're not stopping there. What's next for the Wex team? Where are you going next?
I'd say our journey is far from over, but here's where we see ourselves focusing next to transform the way we work and deliver value. Number one, I'd say just resilient incident management. So we're committed to bringing our entire major incident management process into JSM. And this is going to streamline collaboration, speed up response times, and facilitate critical post-incident analysis for continuous improvement. The second area of focus is going to be unifying our teams. So really further breaking down silos. So by deeply integrating JSM issues with Jira software boards, so we'll promote a more cohesive environment between development and tech support. And this will enable better issue tracking and ultimately faster deliver of value to our customers. And then finally, embracing innovation. So we're staying ahead of the curve. We're trying to by exploring AI-powered features within JSM and other platforms. So the potential for intelligent automation, insightful recommendations, and a truly self-service experience for our employees is what keeps us really excited. So we view Jira Service Management as a powerful platform for continuous improvement at Wex, and we're eager to unlock its full potential and make the employee experience as seamless and empowering as the customer experience we strive for.
Great. Thanks for walking this through. And as you're describing that, I'm thinking about, your resilient incident management operations you've done a great job of putting down the groundwork of any incident that's user reported now has that channel and be able to capture it. And now you're able to pivot out of dev teams, your operations teams on the same page when there's a P1, P2, leveraging the Ops Genie capability, which is now woven into the product. I will follow your story closely and see where that goes. And I like that you had on there that continuous improvement mindset. It's one thing I think with the post-incident reviews or problem management, however the team's doing it, we can unlock those faster. So that'll be an interesting part of it. I think the other thing is the embracing AI. We're already starting to see that because it's already, I can write this response faster, or it can help me find the right KB. So I'll be checking back in with you all as you figure out how it fits in with the way that you work. So I want to just move down. I think we're doing good on time here. So another question for you in the follow-up on this one, Brian, and that is, if someone's listening today, and I've seen a few chat questions come in around this, I think some of the questions they're asking on how and the way you took this journey, what advice would you share with an organization that is standing here looking at Jira Service Management? Sounds like a great fit for our service management improvements, ways of working. I want to ask Tony this as well, but I'll start with Brian. What would be your advice to them? What kind of guidance would you give them?
Well, I think implementing Jira Service Management, it can be a game changer. I do think it's important to approach the implementation strategically. So my advice based on our own experience would be, number one, assess your maturity. So be honest about where you are in terms of ITIL processes, or if you have existing well-defined processes like we did at Wex, maybe a big bang migration might be the best option. Whereas Tony had mentioned, we started with HR and then broadened out to IT and facilities. However, if you're starting with a less mature process or have no ITSM solution at all at this point, an iterative approach may work better for you. So start with core processes and then expand, as you gain expertise. The second area I'd say is don't go it alone unless you absolutely have to. But if you have limited internal JSM expertise, a knowledgeable Atlassian partner can be worth their weight in gold. Like, they will help streamline the implementation, help avoid common pitfalls, and provide best practices. So our experience with StrataCom highlights the value of an established partner relationship. Thirdly, prioritize user adoption. So even the best system is useless if people don't use it properly. So create easy to access training materials but also recognize that most people learn by doing. So we found immediate success with the Google Chat support space, so allowing our agents to quickly get answers and share knowledge during that critical go live period. And then finally, be prepared to adapt. No plan survives implementation perfectly. Be flexible, solicit feedback, and continuously refine your JSM instance to better match your evolving needs. So implementing Jira Service Management, it's a journey, not a destination. So embrace it as an opportunity to truly transform how your organization delivers enterprise services.
Thanks, Brian. Many things you said resonated with me. I think the start where you are. ITIL 4, I'm a big proponent because I've just the lean and agile concepts it brings to the approach and the value stream and value chain that you would map out. And I think that's one thing that they've been a big point of, that you starting where you're at and being able to map that out, I think is key. The other thing, so many things in here, especially the StrataCom team, is just seeing what they've done and getting used to this journey and their partnership, and that the end user experience and who's being supported was it included in this. That's just wonderful to hear, and I think the outcome shows that in the value that you've been able to show back to the organization. Tony, what else would you, from your perspective of starting this journey, what other advice would you call out here?
Yeah, I mean, Brian covered a good portion of it. The only thing I can add is that I think that understanding the Jira model, the mindset that's behind it is really important for understanding how to implement the tool in your organization. So the idea of agile, the idea of collaboration, these things where it's about getting to that end point for the client and not necessarily about the process of the tool, right? It's about getting those pieces together. And I think that that's something that was really helpful for me. I actually have a friend that has worked for Atlassian for quite a while, and when I started working with it, it kind of clicked. He had said things in the past about that, and then it just kind of clicked in my head. Oh, this is part of the whole shift in mentality about how you're doing things. This makes a lot more sense to me now. So.
You know, Tony, as you mentioned, and I've kind of working with customers at different parts of the journey and going back to that kind of aha moment, that going from a modular based way of thinking and bucketing work and the way that teams have to come in, and it can be collaborative, but it still kind of creates silos, that we can now move toward that flow base that's more aligned to, you know, the really what's critical to the business. And that I think you hit on that as folks dig into this, that kind of that aha moment that's really valuable. Any other just last minute part of things? I'll wrap us up because I'm seeing some really good questions in the Q&A, and I can't wait to get into those. But any other things that you just want to highlight before we wrap up here?
No, thanks for the opportunity. Looking forward to answering any questions folks have.
Okay, great. Well,
yeah, I would just say take a look. I mean, Jira offers all the free kind of up to 10 people. You know, take a look at it and see how it works for you.
Easy to just trial it in your organization, get it in and pilot it. So great insight. And I think several of the resources we have will point to that as you start to look at it. Well, I'm going to get us Q&A. So I want to thank you first to the Wex team and Brian and to StrataCom for sharing their insights and experiences today's webinar. We're so excited to actually follow ahead and watch your journey as you go through this. We're grateful to partner with you in your journey as you adopt Jira Service Management and overall platform as you're standardizing on that. And especially to our fantastic partners, subject matter experts from StrataCom. Thank you for everything you've done here and sharing the insights to really just give us understanding of what goes on to get to this point. I think it's invaluable to share that. I want to just say to our listeners coming in today, we're going to move into Q&A. I just want to thank you for joining, taking a few moments out of your day to tune in and learn more about this. Hopefully you found this information informative, engaging. If you have questions and you just want to chat about ITSM or Jira Service Management, don't hesitate to reach out. There are some links in here where you can contact. We're now going to move in and transition to our Q&A. We've been taking a few of these questions and answering them. We're going to go through and as a panel here, we'll start answering some of these questions as we move over for about the next 10 minutes. in this session. So thank you for everyone who submitted questions, and let's get to those questions. All right, we've moved over into Q&A room here. I've been looking through the questions here, catching up, so I'm happy to answer some of these. I want to go through, and I'll just start with what's top there, and there's a few more. We'll work our way down to these. I think the first one that we saw come in there was about AI. Obviously, AI is top of mind for so many of us, and this one was asked about what's the possibilities are there in the short term of integrating AI to prepare reports on demand and avoid wasting time and generating executive documentation for clients, and thus avoiding the micromanagement. I'll go and answer from an Atlassian perspective, and then I know Brian's looking at some of those other areas of maybe some things are top of mind there. The great news of Atlassian Analytics, so that is our offering that's available in our enterprise tier, it provides the natural query language, which is easy to learn. We have a lot of starting templates. I was just in a couple of days ago looking at some of the new templates of team health and statuses for different uses that I can quickly create a set of dashboards to bring together, or a specific dashboard or report, and do that very quickly. But we're also applying our AI capability into that, and we'll be able to save time in just writing that query, because I might be looking across, it sits on the Atlassian data lake in the cloud. I can look across multiple data sets, and so I have a lot of specifics I want to look there. So it saves time, and I think it will help in that regard. I think we're designing in a way that prevent that bottleneck. We also have some marketplace vendors as well for other customers that might, looking to fit their needs. But Brian, anything from a metrics and reporting standpoint, or Tony?
Yeah, I'd say even absent the AI component, and we have started to leverage the natural language query writing as well. But the platform that JSM provides for reporting, as well as Atlassian Analytics, makes it pretty easy to develop charts and dashboards, and then share those out within JSM, or export that data to another tool as well for as kind of the experience layer. So we have one area that was exported data to Google Sheet and Google's Looker Studio. They had a specific use case, and so that's something that just runs automatically. Pretty hands-off kind of approach to provide data in that manner.
Great, thanks for the insight there. Tony, anything else to add from your perspective?
No, I think it's all been pretty covered.
Okay, thank you. I got one that I'm going to definitely come over to you in a second. Brian, we were talking about service and the importance of service. This is a pretty significant shift in the way that you're thinking about and looking at things moving into Jira Service Management compared to the more traditional vendor you were with previously. They're asking about this mission of service. Do you use Jira Service Management for your service catalog, maybe where you're building? And then Tony, I'd love to hear your perspectives on how you guide customers in this direction to get toward a valuable service catalog in their organization.
Yeah, we do leverage the service portal within JSM for our catalog. We found it to be very robust and allow for dynamic workflows. And so that was a real advantage with JSM that when we went to that direction. We had, I think, over 800 catalog items when we implemented, so pretty large. And then we have like 250 or so teams within that support those catalog items. So we had quite a lot of work to do through the implementation. I'm sure Tony can speak to that, but it really allowed us to make step level changes with the portal over our prior catalog. And a big part of that is not just the form creation, the ease of form creation, but the search capabilities as well. So it's a very robust search integrated with Confluence. So you're getting the knowledge out there, but also the forms as well.
Great, thank you. Tony, any additional insights on service?
Yeah, definitely the knowledge is a big one to highlight, because being able to type in a summary as somebody needing service, and then having relevant knowledge articles arise, and being able to control that as an admin as well, as to here's some keywords that should elevate particular articles up to the top, make it really easy to deflect those tickets coming in. we also at Wex, we used Confluence to kind of help guide the service catalog as well. So in addition to just the traditional portal that's offered by JSM, we utilized the Confluence because of the search bringing those items back. So we were able to use that additionally to deflect and make sure that everybody knew what was expected. Like we could provide links if we needed to have, here's a document, make sure you attach this, you know, those types of things. So, or read through these things so that you know what's expected. So yeah, definitely lots of options there when it comes to the portal and Confluence and search. So.
Great, so Tony, I appreciate that. And I think for the Wex team, really important out of the gate was employee support, your overall CX experience, improving that, and you've accomplished that around the service catalog is the driver behind that. And I know, Brian, for you on the next phase is around operations. One thing I want to highlight here that I'm excited to see where this goes is we've created service as a very central object for an organization in operations side of it. So for major incident response, for changes. And one thing that we attach to that is teams. There are a lot of teams that basically kind of gravitate around services, whether they're delivering them or supporting them. And we've made a very significant investment in that area. Some of that came from the Opsgenie portion that is now just in the product, but teams are a foundational capability on our system of work platform. And so that's an area as we follow your journey. I think that's the other part of that is organizations can get their request catalog services out there and valuable, but they also can go operational and centralize around what are those services we're managing, tier 1, tier 2, and so on. So just a lot of places that an organization can mature and grow. There was something that was asked here about what Atlassian intelligent features are you using? Or I know that we were recently at the team event in Las Vegas. What's top of mind for AI and how it's making its way into the way teams are working?
We did recently enable the Atlassian intelligence features in Jira Service Management. So we're leveraging those core capabilities such as the Jira issue search, the natural language query. I'd say the one that's probably of most interest is the summarization capability within an incident or service request record. So the ability on those long histories, especially on kind of a significant incident, to summarize that quickly and then feed that into our root cause analysis process within our problem management space. That's one that's particularly appealing. We're still working on gathering kind of the data to really measure the use, adoption, and effectiveness of that, but it is something that we're starting to leverage.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to go to another question here. I want to get this one to you, Tony, because I think this definitely be an area of perspective. There's a question about what if different teams in my organization use different tools? Can I use Jira Service Management with other ITSM solutions and tools if they remain in place? What's the guidance there, and what are you seeing with customers you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, you can use it with it. There's no doubt about that. It's just what direction are you taking it? Is it a temporary situation where you're leaving something and moving toward a unified platform? Because that would ultimately be the goal that you would want, was to have everybody on one. But that's not always necessarily available for your organization. You might have different departments that use different things, and then they need certain functionalities that they haven't explored in JSM. So that would be another one, is to look at proof of concepts or minimal viable products and see how you can accomplish those within the central platform. And worst case scenario, the integrations are quite easy. JSM and Jira in general has an extensive API that's fully documented and very easy to use. So that's definitely been I've appreciated that as a developer. So
very good. And there is a guide that we've written on this. I see this oftentimes where it might be a legacy tool or something that they have and they want right now to go ahead and bring it in for a certain group. And we provide a lot of great guidance there, a lot of the details of what Tony's talking about. We'll share this out, and you'll see that as well in the community post as we finish this up and post it. A couple of remaining questions here. And I want to go ahead and get this one up because there is one attendee today is part of a managed services provider organization. And in many cases today, oftentimes we're an organization that might have vendors we work with as well. So in some ways, managed service provider, your vendors you work with, you're working with externally. And so their question is, we need to allow our customers to log into the portal, to check on, open up tickets, changes, use the portal to get information. And they're asking does Atlassian support this capability? And the answer is yes, we do. It is multi-tenant support through the portal. So if I have my vendors, my customers, I think in the case of Wex, of some of your external vendors, I know we didn't talk about this use case, but if you did in this case, or you have other external customers that want to come in and get to support, they're able to do that, see their tickets. They will not see other customers' tickets. We've segmented off, but on the back end of that, as my agents pick up the tickets, they'll see what company organization this is associated with so that they can deliver the right support. As we talked about assets data being around that, very, very powerful. It's, I forget the percentage of customers now using Jira Service Management for external support. I think it's upwards of just pushing below 30%. And we're continuing to invest capabilities in there. So I saw another great question here, and I'll jump in and answer this. But and team, I think gave us a lot of previews of this. What are some of the things that are coming up next for Jira Service Management? And I'll just highlight a few of mine that I'd love to hear from Tony and Brian. What's exciting? I think one key area is the portal customization. We know that representing the portal interface, it's a key area. The use of it goes up over time as teams come in and get support. And so we find that that's a great place to represent that out the org. But you might want a different one for my facility field teams, a different look and feel versus something for a bit more business facing. So that is coming, being able to plug in custom content. They preview that team. And I think the other thing is just the AI. I've been looking at this internally, some of the early access of what it does in alerts and events coming in. And we can start to inform teams to tell them, you should be really paying attention to this, or what kind of things might be associated and maybe solve that faster. I think with Rovo coming along and being able to be that additional assistant that can just be in the background working and going through tickets, I think that's probably the third thing I'd highlight. But Brian, first to you, anything that you saw that you'd want to highlight?
I guess I'll just add on to the AI. So obviously a hot topic these days, but there was an interesting announcement around leveraging AI for assignment of issues. And, so I think that's a pretty compelling use case that we don't have access yet, but I know that's something that's on the roadmap or coming very soon. So that's definitely something we want to dig into. Okay,
great. Thank you. Tony, anything from your perspective? You're following it closely.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about organizations and the multi-tenant and some of that. And I know that there's stuff in the roadmap around customers and all that realm. And that I'm excited to see some of that stuff because I know that that's one of those things where the more that we have around that, and then obviously AI, when we always talk about AI, right? It's like underwriting everything these days, and being able to look at what the customer has seen in the past. Have they submitted access requests and now they're looking for password? So those kinds of things combining together, the more data plus the AI will certainly give leverage to help the agents do what they need to do faster and resolve those things. Because like you said earlier in the webcast, we are here to help those customers and deliver that value. So
thank you for that. I appreciate your perspective. There was one last question I saw come in, and there was a couple others that I'll talk about how we'll answer these. And it's just about the Teams cross-functional capability. Teams is a foundational. We're building the team graph. There is a presentation that talks about this from Team, that teams are the glue of how we will think about work, and they might go between different aspects of work within the organization. So we're doing a lot, just not only in Jira Service Management, but in Jira and in Confluence. So watch for continued just investment and capability around that. There are a few other questions here that I want to come back to, and the good news about this as we wrap up today's webinar is the conversation continues. This will be posted over into Atlassian's community. Our community is so active in being able to continue this, and I've actually attended and gone through a webinar afterwards, and you just follow the conversations. And so we will be posting to the resources over there, as well as continuing this conversation. I'll be checking in a couple days. And so if you do have questions, maybe you shared it out with for coworkers and friends and team members, please post your questions there. Check out the resources as well. Try out Jira Service Management. It's free to try. You can bring it in and just, give it take it for a test flight and how you might use it in your organization. And again, I just want to thank Tony and Brian, especially for the time that you've put in to share the story. I look forward to maybe the next chapter when we get together and talk about the next chapter, and just want to thank you both for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
All right. Thank you, and have a good day.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye.